my name is Mitzi Avila and welcome to this episode of Creative Blueprints. Today we will be talking with Frank Lin from Coxist Studio. If you live in Austin, Texas, probably you know what is Coxist Studio and you have seen some of their constructions around the city. Coxist principal architects are Frank and Megan Lin, and they graduated with honors with the Master of Architecture in 2006 by the Washington University in St. Louis. It was pretty interesting for me and I was enjoying this conversation a lot because I was learning with Megan a lot of her experience and she was sharing with me what she was doing before starting her own firm. So I hope you enjoy this conversation as I did. Thanks for watching, and if you find this video inspiring, feel free to share it with another professionals, with future talents, and share it with people that is interested in these topics if they want to start their own company, their own firm. This is very helpful and we will be learning from other professionals. If you like this video, click in the like button and do not forget to subscribe, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram in Creative Blueprints and Mitzi Avila Designer. Well, let's get inspired and I hope you enjoy this video. So today we'll get inspired with an amazing design firm and architectural firm, which is Coxist Studio. Welcome, Megan Lin, and thank you so much for being part of this.
Thanks so much for having me, Mitzi.
Absolutely.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. So are you ready for this?
Yes.
All right. So the structure of this conversation or chatting will be that I will be asking you some questions that usually, those are not asking like in this industry, and is to know who is behind that architectural firm which is creating this amazing world. Today we are in the Gardner property, in the Gardner residence that was finalized how long time ago?
Well, it just finalized a few weeks ago.
Awesome.
So.
It is so beautiful. I will be giving you some shots of this amazing space. It's so beautiful. Coxist is one of my favorite studios in design here in Austin, and it's amazing having you. So first of all, that will be amazing if you can just give me a brief introduction about Coxist, how that emerged, about your expertise, and something that you don't know. And one more is that what is your happy place? Like that can be your restaurant, that can be a city, that can be a spot in the world. So what is your happy place?
Okay. So a lot there. The happy place that's in my mind right now is I love nature. I love to be out in nature. And growing up, we used to go to upstate New York to this lake, and there no technology, no TV, just be out there, kind of be alone with your thoughts and family. And every time I go out there, I think, this is what you need. You need that kind of moment to reflect. Where have we been? Slow down. And I think when you're out in nature, it gives you that moment to kind of think what you've done and where you're going.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Great. So about Coxist, how that emerged, where is that name coming from? How long have been in this industry here in Austin? What are your what did you study here in Austin, or how is your preparation for being like an amazing architect here?
So before we came to Austin to work, Frank and we worked in Los Angeles, and I worked on galleries and museums and really learned a lot about art and how art should be seen, the museum aspect, and how architecture and art can enhance each other, and they kind of speak well together and to make them more of a conversation with each other. And with that too, with the design of art galleries, is like, how do you progress through space and see objects in space? So I think that background for me bringing it to Coexist was really kind of thinking about art and how architecture is like an occupiable art on its own. And everything we do has kind of an aesthetic of that touch of not just being pragmatic, but how do we add other layers to the human experience through that? And then Frank, my partner, he also we worked in Los Angeles and did hotels and high rises over there, but even from the hospitality experience, how do you make things feel like you've arrived to something that feels that you can just let loose and relax? And so we really think about those elements, those takeaways from that commercial part into what we're doing in design in homes. We have a family, we have 2 kids, and so most of the things we design around the idea, like, how do people live here? How do they create memories here? How do we experience space and do that as a family? So a lot of layers, and we hope that like our homes kind of get uncovered throughout time in those layers. You might get your initial experience. The more you live here, hopefully you see more of the details kind of get uncovered as you live. I don't know. That answers most of your things there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that you are part of the AIA as well.
Yes.
So how that happened, how long time ago, like you are part of that? Just if you can share with me more about that.
Sure. We've been part of the AIA for, oh my gosh, maybe the last 5 years or so. I think it's really important to be part of a design community. You know, when you're never out there just by yourself. It's great to, in fact, even last night we met with other small firms doing similar things that we're doing, because the community part only makes us all stronger. I think that Austin has an amazing residential community that sticks together. That doesn't always happen everywhere because they may feel competitive, but the AIA here is more of like, how do we do this together? There's enough for everyone. Let's figure out how we can work together. And they have so many different branches that you can be part of.
All right, so we are ready. I will start with the questions that are so important here to inspire new talents to all of you. So the first question will be, what is your main source of inspiration?
So kind of going back to where my special, like where I feel most relaxed, I think really nature. And Frank and I studied together in grad school. That's where we met. And we studied in Japan for 6 months. And I think that really inspired us about how the simplest things in life are actually pretty hard to get to. It takes a lot of stripping things away. So we're always trying to find like what makes the essence of something, and the outside in element. We're always trying to, you hear it a lot. I think you hear a lot of architects talking about it. I think that's really an important aspect of what we do though, is like, how do you feel like you're still living, like the outdoors are really pulling themselves in. And as you walk through the space, you'll be able to see that we highlight specific trees. We're very site sensitive in that way.
All right, awesome. All right, the next one will be, what would be something you wish you have known before starting Coxist?
I wish we would have done before starting Coexist.
Yes.
We started Coexist pretty quickly out of the gates from having worked at a firm for a little bit. I worked for about 4 years, got pregnant with our son and moved to Texas, and we started Coexist. I actually kind of wish I worked for a firm a little bit longer, just because there was so much to learn. Like the learning curve was so big. For our firm. It's benefited. We just kind of, in the sense, we've just learned it and we learn as we go. But, maybe a few more years of experience could have like helped a little bit.
Did you work for a company or a firm before starting your own firm?
Yes.
Or how long that take you, like working for somebody else?
So it was a great firm. It was small at the time. It's grown. It's kind of internationally known. Now it's called Y Architecture.
Okay.
And so I worked in the Art Institute of Chicago with them. They've done bigger gallery spaces, Grand Rapids Museum of Art with them as well. And they kind of had this philosophy of, here it is, figure it out, sink or swim mentality.
That sounds like a space where you can learn a lot.
Yes. So I just really learned a lot about, like, how do you figure out this information? How do I do this for myself? And they were there to guide for sure, but it gave a lot of power and ownership to like what I was doing as well. And I've learned a ton through them. And I probably could have continued learning for a few more years.
For sure.
More travel too. I wish I had traveled more before starting Coexist. But I think that's part of starting a family too. Those kind of happened at a similar time, and so I just wish I had more
time to travel. Yes. It's not always enough. So perfect. So if you could say something to yourself 15 years ago, what it will be?
So that's a tough one. What would I would just tell myself to trust myself, a little bit more. 15 years ago, some people know they want to be architects from the beginning, and I didn't. I mean, I've always loved design. I've loved art. I actually went to school for psychology before I became an architect.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
like you have to understand the clients and when they are requesting. So sometimes we are like, we have to have like a little bit of psychologist behind.
Absolutely.
But, oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's come in very handy. I mean, especially doing residential design. And it just makes you like think about not even just dealing with clients, but how your brain takes in information and how that experience of space happens. You just learn a lot about that. But yeah, so I kind of lost track of where the question was, but
like 15 years ago, what it will be if you will say something to yourself 15 years ago?
Yeah. So I just, like just be confident in everything that you do, and that if you believe in yourself, you can do it. You really have to. You're not always going to be right all the time. And I think maybe 15 years ago, I felt like everything had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And like to make it perfect that's an impossible task. You really just need to learn to rely on the people around you that have the knowledge base that actually makes you a stronger person and a stronger designer by being able to collaborate in those ways with people. And I wish, like, when I was younger, I just felt like I had to do it all myself. And that's really not the case. It's so much better with other people involved.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so the next one, share with me a big mistake during your career as an architect, designer. How did you solve it, and what did you learn from it?
So I think when you first go into architecture, again, it goes back to the perfectionist. You want to make everything perfect, but that's kind of impossible. So I had a project I was working on, and since my office was amazing in letting me kind of run things, I messed up a specification on a pretty big project. And, the biggest part about making a mistake is owning the mistake. So I think that's the biggest lesson. As much as you feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I can fix this and people won't notice, the best thing that you can possibly do is say, hey, I made this mistake. I will do everything that I can to fix it.
The accountability.
Yes. And I think that is the biggest thing, like the takeaway I learned from there. I've done that on other projects where, we're not going to be perfect. I'd rather tell a client, hey, this was a mistake. Don't point fingers. Yeah. Take ownership of it. They're going to respect you so much more when that happens. And most of the time, they will work with you to help you fix it. I come with solutions, but I will take ownership of when there is a mistake. And I think that just builds a stronger relationship with the clients that we work with and with the contractors we work with. No one really wants to be like a blame pointer.
Yeah. So. You have something like kind of specific one that you have in your mind that you can remember, and you say, that day that happened this, I can remember that we solved it this way, but I learned a lot of this.
So we were working on a brewery, Central District Brewing downtown, and the bar height was set at the wrong bar height. Mm-hmm. And so when I walked in, I just knew that there was something wrong. I went through my drawings, and it was a mistake in our drawing set. And I realized right there, like, it had to be fixed. I couldn't just accept it for what had happened. And I did realize that was the mistake that we had made on our side. So, it's painful, but I offered to the clients that we would correct the mistake, and it would be we'd pay for it. I brought it up to the contractor. And because I was so open and clear about how that happened, the contractor was like, we've had a great relationship ever since that, and he fixed it for us. He actually didn't even charge us for the repair on it, but he was just so surprised that we took ownership and were willing to fix it on our own dime that it just, now we trust each other. Like, our working relationship knows that, we're going to do the best to get the best product for our clients, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah, so that is like so important also, like that your team and the people that is working on your projects is so like they are wearing the shirt to say, I will help you to have like the best result of this.
Yes.
So that is amazing.
Absolutely.
All right. So do you think that your designs tell something about you and how that describe you, that space?
I think so. I'm hoping too that our designs say a little bit about like everyone as a human, because we say we go from a humanistic approach. That's really when we talk about like the scale of things and how we look at as a human progresses. What's the sense, like what are all of our senses, like just your smell, sight, hearing, all those things. We try to think about those things as you progress. So we hope that too, like we have family, we design houses around families. Like how would we want it? If we're designing something in a way that we would want to live, we feel like that would work for a lot of people that have families. And so I guess if you see the floor plan and layout, it's kind of a reflection of how Frank and I would love to live.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Great. What do you think that is the hardest part of being a creative?
I think one of the hardest parts of being a creative is not getting stuck in the weeds, kind of the everyday work grind of what's going on, to allow yourself the space to be creative. Because creativity doesn't just, come right away. You have to like work at it a little bit. You have to give yourself time to think about it and be open to ideas. And if you don't allow yourself that free, open time, you're kind of just plowing through from what you know and not like new opportunities to design.
How do you think that you are keeping your creativity alive?
Well, I think there's multiple ways. In our office, we do where everyone gets together when a project comes into the office initially. We sit down and just talk about the different ideas we have together, like collaborate in that way so that we can kind of feed off of the energy of other people and understand that everyone has a voice in the design, and it makes us continue to think, it kind of grows that way. And then I also just, on a personal level, I do this kind of art post with a friend that we went to graduate school with, where we try to do one piece of art a week, and then we call it Maker Mondays, and then we just post it to each other just to hold each other accountable to be like more involved in creating our own artwork on the side so that we don't get out of practice of
that. Sounds
that.
fun.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Do you think that the mental health is important as a creative, and how that impacts your daily work?
I think mental health is extremely important as a practice. And I think sometimes architecture has had a bad rap about the amount of hours that you work and the mental health in it because there's so much pressure. But we really work hard at our firm to be, hey, we need a work-life balance that creates a good mental health balance for people and gives them opportunities to take care of what they need to take care of. So we really push working like a 8:30 to 5 o'clock time and cut off, and be like, if you have an issue with family or you need to go attend to something, you can. And I think that helps with the mental health part, because it gives people the time to take the time they need to deal with what their issues are, or just even take the time to decompress when they need that. It makes people just better employees and better people as a whole. And to be creative, you have to be able to be open, and it is kind of a bearing of your soul a little bit in terms of designing. You're putting yourself out there. And so I think, being responsive to mental health just helps the creativity, flow better.
Absolutely. And the last question, for all the people that is watching this video, and for the new talents, new designers, new architects, everybody in the industry that wants to be part of this community, what will be like the best advice for that people? I would just say, follow your heart. I think that's what a lot of people say in this circumstance. But if it's something that you really love, that you should go after it. And I think one thing, when people even send resumes, say to us, when the difference between one resume to another, sometimes it's just the person following up with a call and saying like, go after what you want. Don't be like in the sidelines and just half do it. You have to go after it with everything that you have, because when you only half do something, you never know if you could have really done it. Yeah. You need to be able to put yourself fully into something to know that you can do it. And most of the time you will, and then you'll feel so much like
more empowered to do more.
Awesome. That is amazing. That is inspired for new people that is sometimes like not exactly know that they want to be architect, or if they are studying and they don't know what is next. What is the next step? And I completely understand, and I agree that you have to trust in yourself and your capability of bring something new to the world.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. Yeah.
And if you have a flicker of passion on something, explore it, because you never know where that will take you. I mean, people want to do things with people that have a passion about it. And you can feel that when you meet someone. If they're passionate about it, you want to be on board with that. So if it's not something that you find passion about, then, what else do you have? What other things that if you think back about, like what made you feel the best, kind of explore that and go after those things that really get to the core of what you love.
Awesome. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for sharing all of this information and thoughts that you have, and from Coxist is very valuable for a lot of people that is watching these videos. And yeah, for sure, if you have any other questions, requests for Megan, follow them on Instagram. What is their Instagram on Coxist?
It's Coxist_studio.
Awesome. Yeah, great. So thank you so much for sharing this with me, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you, Mitzi.
Thank you.